The Beach Boys were one of the most popular and influential American groups that emerged in the early 1960s. Brian Wilson was the unquestioned leader, composer, vocal arranger, and producer of the Southern California band. The June 11th, 2025 passing of Brian Wilson at the age of 82 brought an end to his more than 60-year music career. It began in the early 1960s and stretched into the 2020s. On social media, his daughters Wendy and Carney posted the following announcement. It read, "We are heartbroken to announce that our beloved father, Brian Wilson, has passed away. We are at a loss for words right now. Please respect our privacy at this time as our family is grieving. We realize that we are sharing our grief with the world. Love and mercy." From 1962 to 1963, Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys played the Inland Empire a number of times. Thanks to research by Inland Valley Daily Bulletin journalist David Allen, websites beachboysgigs.com, becomingthebeachboys.com, and Bellagio10452.com. Many of their earliest IE appearances have been confirmed. For the purposes of this video, the city of Pomona will be considered part of the Inland Empire. Even though it is located in Los Angeles County, I feel the city has more in common culturally with the IE. The single that jump-started the Beach Boys' career was Surfin'. It was composed by Brian Wilson and his cousin Mike Love. Released on November 1961 on a small record label, it became a regional hit on Southern California radio. In February 1962, Surfin' reached the top 5 of Inland Empire radio station KFXM's Fabulous 59 Top Tune Survey. The single's success led to increased demand for personal appearances by the band. From 1948 to 1965, Rainbow Gardens was the dance and concert hotspot in Pomona, California. The Beach Boys played their first Inland Empire concert there on January 12, 1962. They were third billed to house band The Mixtures. Second billed was surf band The Sentinels from San Luis Obispo, California. In the ad, the letter S was left off the word boys. The Beach Boys' first San Bernardino, California gig was on Friday, March 23, 1962, at the 47th National Orange Show. Major acts appeared at the over 7,000-seat capacity Swing Auditorium. In 1962, these performers included comedian Joey Bishop, jazz legend Louis Armstrong, singer Sue Thompson, TV stars Ed Kooky Burns, Soupy Sales, Bonanza leads Lauren Green and Dan Blocker, and Cliff Charlie Weaver Arquette. Also appearing was Hollywood B-movie starlet Mamie Van Dorn. The Beach Boys had not yet achieved that level of recognition and were relegated to playing an afternoon Kids' Day teen dance in the National Orange Show cafeteria's Orange Blossom Room. This photo was taken during that performance. The next day, March 24, 1962, the Beach Boys performed at an afternoon high-teen Easter fashion show in downtown San Bernardino. It was presented at the Harris Company Department Store's 4th floor auditorium. Although the Beach Boys weren't listed in this newspaper ad, many sources have confirmed that the band performed at this event. William F. Williams, a DJ at San Bernardino radio station KMEN, was present at this Beach Boys concert. He remembered, "Harris had a fashion show concert each year. KMEN was in charge of putting together the talent for Harris's concert, and I remember their band manager, Murray Wilson, came to us and literally begged us to let the Beach Boys be the opening act. As I recall, they barely knew which end of the guitar case was up. They looked very badly, played very badly, and sang very badly. On March 31st, 1962, the Beach Boys headlined a Saturday night dance at the National Guard Armory in Ontario, California. Appearing with them was Manhattan Beach surf band, The Vibrants. On Saturday morning, May 12, 1962, the Harris Company department store presented a Campus Deb Jamboree Time fashion show at the California Theater in downtown San Bernardino. The latest teen Easter outfits were exhibited in a live fashion show. Then there was a screening of the 1961 movie Pocket Full of Miracles. Radio station KMEN's disc jockeys also made an appearance. An autograph session with surprise guest stars was announced. While not mentioned in the print ad, most researchers believe that the surprise guest stars were in fact the Beach Boys. They conclude that the band was introduced to the audience at the California Theater. Then they retreated to the Harris Company department store's record shop, where they signed autographs. The Beach Boys released their second single, Surfin' Safari, with B-side 409 in June 1962. By then, they had been signed to a major label, Capitol Records. The double-sided hit record was popular in the IE. It reached the number 4 position in the July 13, 1962 K-Mendes 10 survey. On Friday, July 27, 1962, the Beach Boys returned to perform at Pomona's Rainbow Gardens. Again, they were the opening act for house band The Mixtures. Second billed were the Paris Sisters. On Sunday afternoon, July 29, 1962, the Beach Boys performed at Lake Arrowhead's Dance Pavilion in the San Bernardino Mountains. Today, the Dance Pavilion is a restaurant. Opening the dance was Redlands, California surf music band The Tornadoes. Little did the headlining Beach Boys know that the IE band's single, Bustin' Surfboards, would prevent Surfin' Safari 409 from reaching the number 1 position on the August 18, 1962 KFXM survey. Apparently, the mountain community setting must have made quite an impression on Brian Wilson, because later in life he would own vacation properties in Lake Arrowhead. One of the most poorly documented Beach Boys 1962 appearances is one they may or may not have made in Riverside, California. Inland Valley Daily Bulletin journalist David Allen wrote in a September 2023 article, "There are no newspaper advertisements, flyers, tickets, promotional material, or other evidence to prove dates and venues for any appearance in Riverside." However, memories of the show live on in the minds of those who claim they were there. Allen reported that some claimed that the Beach Boys performed at the De Anza Theater in downtown Riverside, where they autographed and handed out the publicity photo seen here on the right. Others said that the Beach Boys' performance took place at the Riverside Plaza, but fans differ on the location. Some remember that they performed on a flatbed truck in the parking lot. Meanwhile, others recall that the band appeared inside the Harris Company department store's auditorium. Here's my theory. In the early 1960s, the Beach Boys opened a number of times for the king of the surf guitar, Dick Dale and his Deltones. Dale would play the California National Guard Armory in Riverside's Fairmount Park on a regular basis, so it's not far-fetched to speculate that the Beach Boys might have opened for Dale in the Armory at least once. On Saturday, February 2, 1963, the Beach Boys played the Swing Auditorium on the grounds of the National Orange Show in San Bernardino for the first time. The occasion was the 4th annual March of Dimes benefit show and dance, presented by radio station KFXM. By playing this concert, the Beach Boys became one of over 60 artists that played the Swing Auditorium and later were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In this close-up of the ad, The over 15 acts that appeared at the March of Dimes show are listed. Along with the Beach Boys, other surf music-related bands that appeared were headliners Dick Dale and the Deltones, Jan and Dean, the Rumblers, the Hollywood Tornadoes, and the Chantays. The concert gained notoriety in local newspapers not so much for the music, but for what was called a full-scale riot that took place after the show. This Leonard Metz Sun article reported that the March of Dimes event drew 6,200 paid admissions, with sneak-ins swelling the crowd to about 8,000. The sheriff's office blamed the melee on overcrowding, which inhibited dancing. An obscure Beach Boys appearance took place on Sunday, March 10, 1963, when the group played a birthday party for San Bernardino radio station KMEN. Although not mentioned in this announcement, Beach Boys researchers claim that the band played at this celebration. Less than a week later, the Beach Boys played a Friday night dance at the Hemet Armory on March 16, 1963. On May 29, 1963, the Beach Boys performed for the students of Pacific High School in San Bernardino, California. Opening for the Beach Boys was Inland Empire surf band the Ebb Tides. As the day wore on, it became apparent that Beach Boys drummer Dennis Wilson was in no condition to perform. He was either too ill or too drunk to play. An appeal was made to the Ebb Tides to borrow their drummer Jim Gastineau as a last-minute fill-in. Of his Beach Boy for a Day experience, Gastineau said, "We, the Ebb Tides, opened up for the Beach Boys at Pacific High School. It was in an assembly in the afternoon, somewhere around 1963. They didn't even ask me if I would do it. Mike Love and their uncle asked the leader of our band if I could do it. I wasn't even consulted." So Jim Gastineau went on to sit in on drums with the Beach Boys, taking the place of the unavailable Dennis Wilson. On Friday, November 29, 1963, the Beach Boys played the National Guard Armory in Indio, California. On November 30th, 1963, the Beach Boys played the Municipal Auditorium in downtown San Bernardino. The event was the first Channel 18 Saturday night bandstand dance. The Beach Boys shared the bill with fellow surf music bands the Astronauts from Boulder, Colorado, and the Torquays from the IE. Also appearing was a cool jazz group, the Dave Pell Octet. On the day of the dance, the Beach Boys received the front page treatment on the San Bernardino Daily Sun newspaper's City section. On New Year's Eve 1963, the Beach Boys played the grand opening of the Cinnamon Cinder, an alcohol-free young adults nightclub in San Bernardino. Fred Vail held various positions within the Beach Boys organization. He accompanied them when they played the Cinnamon Cinder. About that night, Vail said, "On New Year's Eve, we drove out to San Bernardino for a performance at Teen Club the Cinnamon Cinder. I was with Carl Wilson in his shiny new 1964 Grand Prix Pontiac. The boys finished their set shortly before midnight, and Carl and I left for Hawthorne. As we drove west, KFWB was counting down the hits, and as we approached the midnight hour, the jockey introduced the #1 song of the Southland for 1963. Yep, Surfing USA. Carl and I let out a scream I'm sure to this day they heard all across Riverside County and clear to Hawthorne." In 1964, the Beach Boys continued having a good relationship with IE radio station KMEN. In October, Brian Wilson and Mike Love were in the studio cutting radio promos. Among them was one for Cayman.
Cayman, Purdue.
KMEN, take one.
And this is Brian Wilson. How are all the Caymen doing these days? We haven't seen you in quite a while. Oh, wait a minute. That's a personalized one, too. Should we say something about we'll be back soon, I hope?
Well, they were one of the first too.
Yeah,
so why don't
okay,
you s-
okay,
you
yeah,
know,
right. And
The
this
guys who gave us our start.
and this is Brian Wilson thanking KMEN, one of the first radio stations ever to play a Beach Boy record. You've been so great to us in the past, and thanks for playing our brand new record, Dance, Dance, Dance.
Okay. Except they say K-Man all the time.
Yeah, okay,
That's
K-Man.
all right.
Okay, I'll do it again. Yeah. This will be the final one on K-Man.
Take 9.
And this is Brian Wilson thanking K-Men, one of the first radio stations ever to play a Beach Boy record. You've been so great to us in the past, and thanks very much for playing our brand new record, Dance, Dance, Dance.
By 1964, the Beach Boys were touring nationally, but with no IE concerts. On a December 23rd flight to begin a U.S. tour, Brian Wilson suffered an anxiety attack and returned to L.A. He would not tour again with the group until the mid-1970s. But even without Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys continued touring. For a short time, Glenn Campbell took his place on the road. Fast forwarding to March 16, 1973, the Beach Boys played in the gym at the University of California, Riverside. The 8 p.m. show was a sellout, so it was decided to add a second show at 10:30 p.m. Sun-Telegram staff writer Steve Cooper's review of the concert was mixed. The Beach Boys' vocals were praised, and their live performance was called perfection. However, the venue was panned for its acoustics. More disturbing was the conduct of some concert goers. The review reported, most of the night the audience shouted for oldies, and scattered booing greeted some new songs. On December 28, 1974, the Beach Boys returned to the Swing Auditorium for the first time since 1963. The concert was a sellout with over 7,000 fans, but the band faced an issue that would plague them for the rest of their career. In a review by Sun-Telegram staff writer John Weeks, he quoted concert-goer Tina Alvarez of San Bernardino as saying, "I just hope they do a lot of their old stuff. I don't have any of their new albums, but I think I have all of the old ones. Those are the best." From the 1970s forward, the Beach Boys were, perhaps unfairly, considered by many to be just an oldies act, expected to do nothing more than to grind out all the old hits. From 1976 to 1982, Brian Wilson resumed touring with the Beach Boys. However, there were no IE appearances. After 1982, he again quit the road. By the late 1990s, both of Brian's brothers, Dennis and Carl, had passed away, and Al Jardine stepped away from the group. But the band persevered and continued to tour, but only with Mike Love and Bruce Johnston as longtime members. In the mid-1980s, Brian Wilson met Melinda Ledbetter. They married in 1995, and she eventually became Brian's manager. Many credit her with bringing Brian out of his shell and back into creating music and performing. In 2012, the 5 surviving members of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, David Marks, Mike Love, Bruce Johnston, and Al Jardine, reunited for a 50th anniversary tour. For the Beach Boys to put aside their creative, financial, and personal differences made it possible for them to treat their fans to one last group reunion tour. For their last Inland Empire appearance with Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys played the Fantasy Springs Special Events Center in Indio on Saturday, May 26, 2012. Of the Beach Boys' early years, group member Mike Love told Press Enterprise columnist Vanessa Franco, "We'd go to radio stations. The DJs would put on dances. Kids would come. Because they made some money with us, they'd play us night and day. We did that all over the place the first couple of years of our existence. In terms of promotion, it used to be record hops and radio station visits." As of mid-2025, there are now only 4 surviving Beach Boys that were band members in the 1960s. Bruce Johnston, Mike Love, David Mark, and Al Jardine. Mike Love retains the legal right to tour as the Beach Boys. To date, he and Bruce Johnston continue to appear using that name. Like this outdoor concert held at the University of California Riverside Homecoming 2022 near the UCR Bell Tower. David Marks and Al Jardine are not a part of the current touring version of the Beach Boys, but they still occasionally make concert appearances using their own names. However, there are plenty of hardcore fans that feel it's not the Beach Boys without the brothers Wilson, Brian, Carl, and Dennis.